Hello, brothers and sisters. We're here at the Highly Steak Talks, and I'm here with Steak Lord. Yes, we have Steak Lord here. What is your Instagram?
Steak Lord.
Alright,
My real name's Daniel.
alright. Well, Steak Lord, I know you're very informed in the farming ways, so I know it's not very covered. So I just had a few questions for you today.
Well, I think to start off, we should explain what is happening.
Okay.
That our what we're trying to talk about isn't necessarily just farming, but it's also the fact that there are massive protests going on across Europe right now that Americans should be aware of.
Mhm.
And maybe I don't necessarily have all of the information available to me, but the point is that we're trying to get the word out of a problem that's happening, and there's a reason for it all.
Mm.
So to do the work on your own and to find more evidence yourself, that is basically what we're trying to get you to do,
Okay.
is to enlighten yourself.
Yes, that is the goal here because your own research is the best research because you got to learn how to put two and two together.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready for your first question, Dan?
Yes.
Well, my first question is from all the countries, Italy, India, and Germany, and America, all are protesting, all these farmers are protesting. So I'm asking you, why do you think they're all protesting out here?
They're protesting the same reason everybody protests for anything in
Mm.
the world: taxes, unjust regulations, things that hinder the average working man. That's why they're protesting, because they're the food suppliers. So what's happening is the EU is making regulations on the farmers
Okay.
because of climate change, and it's under that guise of climate change. But in reality, what we're trying to say is that they're trying to control the food production. That way you can control the people. So if you
Mm.
put more regulations on the food production and you make it difficult for farmers to actually make an income, they're going to stop farming.
Yeah.
So it's basically like bullying.
So the farmers are being bullied.
Hell yeah.
So that's why they're out here like, yo, we need to be out here and we need to speak up and stand for our rights.
Yep.
Okay, okay.
Now it's the Netherlands, Scotland, Germany, France, Poland, Belgium, Lithuania, Romania, Greece, and Italy.
Sheesh.
Now that's happening right now. And we haven't heard anything about it. I don't see any media outlets going to speak about it or talk about it or to enlighten the viewers about it, you know?
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
not part of their mainstream that they're trying to push. But I'm aware of it because we get our information from the internet, from social sources,
Word.
by independent people who are observing and posting on their own. That's where it's coming from. But the problem is, because I'm already in the farming sphere of the internet, that I see these things happening, but it's super crucial things that are happening in the world, and yet there's regular people that aren't in that part of the internet that never see it.
That's a fact. Because the internet does read our mind and our patterns of what we like to see. So it's always coming up.
So it's going to give you things that you're generally going to like or not, you know.
Yes, and Dan out here is gonna be one of the best farmers in Montauk, New Jersey. Keep a close
One
eye for
day.
it. All right. My next question would be, why do you think farmers are faced with violence when they're out there protesting by like police or whoever's out there trying to keep it all in control?
There's always violence and protests.
Hmm.
However, I haven't seen a lot of violence in these farming protests. From what I've seen, there wasn't many battles. There weren't battles, there weren't fights. It wasn't like what we see in New York City now, where after the protest everyone hits the streets and starts breaking things. It's not like that.
Yeah.
But they are finding their own ways to protest and their own ways to make their point known. For example, they sprayed horse crap all over the businesses, all over the not the businesses, the
Government building.
government buildings.
Yeah.
Exactly. They find their own ways to make their point. Now, these are people who have tractors. You know, it's a threatening thing when a bunch of tractors go into a city.
That's a fact.
And they take over. Tractors can hurt people.
Yeah, they have big
and
ass
I
wheels.
saw a video. Yeah, giant wheels that can crush you. I saw a video of a tractor just pushing through a police barricade. The guy was trying to stop it, and then he moved out of the way because there's a tractor. You know, but I don't see lots of, from what I've seen, and again, do your own research, but from what I've been shown on Instagram is I don't see people throwing hands like that. Like I don't see rubber bullets. I don't see gas.
Police hitting them with the nightsticks.
That's not like that happens in America. Oh, okay. That's what happens here. But to go back to your previous question, American farmers aren't really protesting. We should be. We should be listening to what our brothers and sisters in Europe are doing.
That's true.
But we're not.
Because if it's happening there, it can happen here.
Because we're brainwashed and they actually talk to each other.
That's the best thing a community could do is get together and fight for your rights and what you believe in.
And speak on them and get to the root of the problem, not just on your whatever platform, but personally, one-on-one with your mom and your dad. Talk about these things. And then you'll really start to understand them.
Do you think that agriculture has been bending their knees to the government?
Here?
And specifically all around any country, and if you want, you could get into here too.
Well, yeah. Food production is a super important part of life. You know, you got to have food to live.
That's a fact.
And now, in a capitalistic environment, you have to buy food to live. So if you can control the means as to which the food is produced, you can control where the person's dollar gets spent. Mm-hmm. That being said, there are many FDA regulations on many foods that inhibit the process of buying that specific food. For example, raw eggs and raw milk. You can only get pasteurized eggs. You know?
Yeah.
Raw milk is illegal to buy and sell in New Jersey. You can't even give buckets of it to your friends. Somebody got arrested recently.
Wow.
I think it was in Pennsylvania for giving people food for free. They weren't buying it. They were just giving it to them, and they got...
Wait. So you're saying people were giving away food for free and they got arrested for it?
I don't know if it was arrested or heavily fined, but it's off the top of my head right now, but look it up. It happened.
Oh, that's crazy, bro, because that's just somebody else trying to help somebody else, and why would the government want to?
Yeah, they were giving raw milk to their friends and their family.
That's crazy.
They weren't selling it.
If anything, I think they should get arrested if they were selling it without giving the government their fair share, because I know that's what they really care about.
Is the taxing.
Yeah, but if they're giving it for free, I don't know, bro. That sounds a little messed up.
That is messed up. And what your question was, do you think they've bent a knee?
Well, yeah, like they just like kind of let things slide in a sense.
The agriculture producers to the government?
Yeah.
I don't think they were letting things slide. I think they're at the mercy of the government. And that's why they're protesting. They're not letting things slide. They're protesting in EU, but in America, they're not. Why? Because we're heavily brainwashed. And we don't think that we can do things. And we also don't think that problems are problems until they become something worse than they already are. We know, you and I, that there's plastic in our food. There's chemicals in our food.
Yeah.
And that's what they're selling us as FDA-approved foods to eat.
So you're saying this is being approved at such a higher power that you're confused as why it's being approved for us?
Well, I'm saying there's many different points in this puzzle to think about that would lead to this happening. What's happening is American farmers are losing their rights. They're getting taxed heavily
Mm.
and they're losing their land.
Mm.
Big corporations are buying up farmland.
Sheesh.
Why would you do that but to have more control
Yeah.
over the production of food?
Okay. Okay.
If there's no land to buy, nobody can grow on it.
All right.
They also, Americans don't understand the process at which food actually grows. Nobody really realizes that they can grow tomatoes and microgreens in their basement. You know, you can grow food for yourself right in your own kitchen. But what? We're told that we have to go to the supermarket to buy it.
Do you think is that we're told to go to the supermarket to buy, or Americans are just lazy?
I don't think it's either. I think we're told to go to the supermarket to buy it, and we haven't considered any other possible options.
Hmm.
We're not lazy, but also we're lazy. You go to the supermarket for the convenience of not growing it yourself, or going to these small farmers markets
Yeah.
where you do get the best food, by the way.
Word, I agree with farm markets. Farm markets are a very good source of places to get your food from.
Now, the other thing that goes into all of this as to why they're bending a knee, they're not bending a knee. They've just been, these agriculture and farmer people have been wrongly educated. So they're growing things in a process that was told was correct when in fact does more damage to the ecosystem. And I'm not talking about carbon emissions. I'm talking about leaching nutrients from the soil.
Hmm.
That's really what I'm talking about. They're disguising it as carbon emissions and climate change, when in reality, it's they want to grow the GMO foods that are bigger for more people that don't have as many nutrients. Or, for example, the Dust Bowl that happened in America. In the Midwest, farmers were wrongly taught on how to grow food. So they grew food at massive production levels all at once. This was in the 1920s. They grew these massive amounts of food because the Industrial Revolution just started. So they all got these tractors and they were growing too fast. They were leaching all the nutrients from the soil and no water was able to penetrate and everything got dry and dead.
Wow.
Then the dust, the dry dirt became dust and it all went up into the sky. And this whole problem, and because they weren't able to grow their food, because they overproduced their food, led to the Great Depression. Now, after the Great Depression, that's when people started noticing how to keep food for longer periods of time. It was during the Great Depression that we learned how to can foods, to preserve them. Now, these ideas that we've learned in this time of I guess I'd say famine, right? We latched onto them and we perverted them to not suit us anymore. These cans have harmful chemicals inside of them. Yeah, maybe certain things are bad for the environment, but there's also leniency you have to give. Now, what's happening now is that the government is strong arming the farmers as to get them to stop completely.
Why?
So that they can continue to put chemicals in our food. And if you can control where the food comes from, you can control what the food is, and you can control what people put into their bodies.
So in a sense, they're controlling the people.
Yeah, well, that's the people. But to go into why they're bending the knee, it's because the government's the government. It's hard to fathom anything else besides that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you think the president said so now that's what it is. But we're noticing every day that that's not true anymore. You know, we can go out and do something.
Okay.
These are families that are starving.
All right.
They can't afford their bills, and they grow the food for us.
And they're over here struggling.
Yeah, and it's because they were taught incorrectly. But that's not all of them. That's just the people who don't do it the right way.
Yeah. Would you say that's most of them?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
No, I wouldn't say that's most of them. When I went to school for farming, They taught me the accurate way to do it that isn't invasive, that won't that they taught me the way to do it that will benefit the soil and give back to the ecosystem as well as producing. So there are ways to do this. It's
All in one?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's what I've been trying to do, but it's hard to get you people to understand and agree with me. Not you people.
Yeah, I'm not a farmer. I'll listen and do what I can do.
Yeah. But like there's certain ways things have to be done.
Yes, I agree.
That I agree with. There should certainly be maybe not legislation, but accurate education to the farmers. Instead of saying, oh, farms cause 30% of carbon emissions across the globe, one small family farm is not going to do the same carbon emissions as a Monsanto factory.
Yeah, that kind of makes logical sense.
The ShopRite meat packaging facility isn't going to do the same amount of carbon emissions as Jenny and John down the road who have 15 cows.
Yeah. Do you believe farmers should have social protection?
Social protection, what do you mean?
In the sense of like when they're protesting and stuff, like should they be protected on what they say and like not face punishment in the sense of what you were explaining, like losing farmland or like have to pay more in taxes, or they have to be forced to like grow stuff a certain way even though they don't want to grow it that way because the government told them to? Do you feel like they have the right to that, or should they just listen to the government? Whatever they say goes.
It's a tricky thing. It really is tricky.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, you can have one guy poisoning the apples and selling them. Obviously, you can't do that.
Yeah, I feel
Obviously, whatever's in the apple is harmful, and you can't sell that to people.
Yeah.
And then you have another guy who doesn't do that to his apples, but he's still facing the same consequences as the guy who puts the chemicals on the apples. And the biggest problem is that they're actually putting the chemicals on the apples on purpose. And that's the food that they're selling. It's not the natural food that you can get. The organic food is not the food you're going to get at the supermarket. The natural organic food is actually what they're stopping go out on the shelves. It's the heavily processed, heavily preserved, pesticide-ridden food that eventually makes it onto the shelf at ShopRite.
Why do you believe those foods are the ones that make it?
Because they look the best.
So they just wanted to look the best.
They wanted to look the best.
They don't care about the nutrition. Wow, it's terrible. To all the farmers out there that are doing the right thing, big claps for you, and hopefully you continue doing your thing because
social protection. Now, sorry to cut you off, but we didn't finish that question.
Well, I thought you were done.
I thought I was too, but then I cut you off.
Okay.
So, yeah, farmers need the social protection, and that's not something that you can get in America anymore. It used to be that you could sell milk to your family. You can give food to your family. You're allowed to grow food and give it to your family, but now you can get fined and almost go to jail over it. Mm-hmm. You're not allowed to give food you grow to your family.
Yeah, that's weird.
That is strange. Nobody can argue that that's not weird. I
100% agree. If you were growing tomatoes and I needed tomatoes and you gave me tomatoes and now you have to pay a $10,000 fine.
Like there was no buy and sell thing there.
It's just forcing you to now not give a damn about me, you know?
Exactly. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's strong arming the farmers to make them succumb. Now, we need to be protesting, and we see in Europe they can do it and they can get their point across without killing people.
Do you think if American farmers were doing what European farmers were doing, you think the government would not like hurt them?
I think the media would totally blow it up to something it's not, make it a left versus right issue, and then that's how they'll end it.
Wow.
Instead of fixing the problem, they'll make a more divisible problem among it. to
Yeah, I
say,
get
oh, well,
it.
people who agree with the farmers, they're Republicans. And the people who agree with us, they're the liberals.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
now we're arguing
And now
against
we're
each
arguing
other.
against each other as a Republican and a liberal and not as a, I need food. I need food.
Let's
We
work
will grow
together.
food.
Word. That would be a logical way of seeing things. Hopefully, after this, who knows? Maybe it builds up and people start actually caring for one another, and we don't get strong armed because I believe we get strong armed when we don't know enough people don't know. But if everyone knows, you can't get strong armed.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're spreading the message. And, the more people who wake up to it, the more voices you're going to hear, you know? So it's good.
Word.
It'll happen.
I hope so. I hope so. What do you think about Bill Gates owning as much farmland as China, which is around 248,000 acres?
I might need a fact check if he owns as much as China. China's
I
huge.
fact checked this before I wrote these questions down for you.
He owns as much farmland as China.
Yeah, everybody could look this up. You can too, right now.
I'll look it up right now.
Yeah, guys, Bill Gates is making big moves. You need to be alert on this because that's a lot of fucking land.
Bill Gates owns almost as much U.S. agricultural land as China at 248,000 acres, according to the land report. That was
Can,
Forbes magazine.
can you show them that, please?
Yeah. First thing on Google, after I Googled, Bill Gates owns as much farmland as China.
That's crazy. See, now you guys see that. You gotta do your own research.
Well, that's what we're saying. You
Yeah.
fact check us. Please fact check us.
Absolutely.
Because when you do fact check us, you will find that we're correct. So please put our money where our mouth is.
And if we're not, I'm glad to take a L and learn. I won't
Yeah,
be
the L
frustrated.
stands for learn. It doesn't
Yeah,
stand
it
for
stands
lose.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's what I think about it. I think Bill Gates is a scummy guy.
Yeah, me too.
I think I think whatever he's planning on doing with that farmland ain't good. Now you can't say for certain that he's gonna grow a bunch of crops.
No, I think he just wants to control the food, so he controls the people, and then now people are forced to go to him to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we were talking about the social platform before, now you can't help me get tomatoes. We both got to go to Bill Gates,
Yeah.
and that's what he wants.
Yeah, and they also have patents on the seeds themselves. So if you want to get the tomatoes, you want to get the seed, you have to go through these different corporations that messed with them already.
If we the people don't own farmlands, do you believe food would be for us? If we owned the farmlands, like more Americans own farmlands than Bill Gates, would food be better for us or worse?
I go back to the point of you can grow food in your basement. I can't say that food will be better. It all depends on the technique the farmer uses. It depends on how the soil is. It depends on the area and the climate that you're in. I don't think owning 10 acres versus owning half an acre is going to stop you from growing enough food for your family. There are definitely ways to do it that aid to the soil and nurture the environment around you, and that will still provide for you.
Word, I get that, but I'm saying since Bill Gates owns that much farmland, obviously most of the food is coming from him.
Well,
But if like just us Americans,
Mhm.
let's say like normal Americans own that land, would the food in America be less toxic for
of
us?
course, if it's multiple different people owning the land, of course, there's going to be so many different foods that come out of that. But if it's one guy, his practices are going to be the only foods that come out. Now, that being said, even if he does own all the farmland in America, if we can still continually grow our own food with the resources we have available to us, then we wouldn't have a dependency on him.
But if he owned most of the food, wouldn't most of the people go to him? Even if like, because I would feel like a small group, a number of people would be growing their food, but the majority would be getting it from him. Because like you said, people go to the grocery store because of the convenience.
Yeah, the majority would totally go to him.
So, guys, we have to do better and not go to Bill Gates and actually grow our own food, no matter if it's 10 acres, 1 acre, a backyard,
Basement.
a little basement, anything. We just have to do it our own because the way food is looking right now is kind of toxic.
The real problem is that they're safeguarding knowledge and education to us.
Mm.
People don't know how to grow food. They don't know the process of a seed. To me, it sounds so obvious, of a seed making roots and coming up, and then that's your food now.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't understand that, and if that was a process that they understood, they would realize how easy it is for them to do that themselves.
Word. Okay, brother. This is a great talk, and I hope me and you can change the world one person at a time because things ain't looking that great. But if we have great people like us, I know there's a bunch of you out there with great minds, great actions you guys want to take, and we can change stuff. Do it our way instead of millionaire ways like Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, Rothschilds.
Yeah, those aren't ways that benefit humanity. Those are ways that benefit those singular
People.
people's pockets.
Word, I agree with that. And we don't care about pockets here. We care about the actual
We
benefit.
don't care about votes here. We votes are whatever, pockets, money, that's whatever, but the love that comes between two people is the only thing that is going to give a foundation in a
Preach,
society.
preach, brother, preach. Well, that's the end of our talk. I hope you guys all make better decisions after watching this and hearing this. Goodbye.
I don't like that. What's up?